Hello, foot nerds, and welcome to another installment of the Foot Me podcast, your podcast aimed at all of us mid-level, mid-tier, and just plain mid players slash addicts of this game. I am your host, TJ, here to navigate you through that process, or at least really, I guess I'm less of a navigator, more of a witness to what has happened to me, and maybe what I share is something that you can relate to, and then makes you less likely to break controllers or throw TVs out the windows or whatever your method of getting rid of that frustration is. Today we have a pretty packed show. We're going to clearly look over how I've been playing and what's been going on in terms of the Rivals grind and everything now that we are post Black Friday. Of course, EA puts out a toxic promo. It's in there. It's on brand for them, I would say. We're also going to look at this week in EAFC. Go back to my basics and do a little bit of research. Got some interesting stuff that came out on a podcast and just some, did you knows. And then lastly, kind of some points of interest, things like that are going on in terms of the way seasons are working and the packs and dynamic packs and some of those things. But before we get into all that, we're going to start where we always start. Doing all right. After the season reset, getting up into 4 got moved down into 7 instead of 8. Last season was able to move my way up. Felt pretty confident in my ability to play the game right off the bat in the new season. This season was not that. In 7, playing against some pretty stacked teams. I think we all are at this point. Black Friday and roulette packs and credit card FCs and things like that have those of us in Division 7, 8 playing against, some, rainbow number of 90 plus, folks in the team. And so there's something you can take away from that. Like, man, I'm playing a stacked team, but it still doesn't make, L's or draws feel, necessarily any better. I guess it does push you to maybe think, should I invest some more? And the answer to that is no. But anyway, as I was saying, we've moved into Division 7 and have been kind of struggling, was at the halfway mark for a long time, and just last night was able to get over the hump and have moved into Division 6. Have not played a single game there. It is interesting in that when it seems like, and this was something that Martin and I talked about during our last session, was at the beginning of the season, or anytime you move up, there's a tendency to, kind of think, oh, well, this is different. I need to play differently, instead of just trying to keep that same mindset and stay level and just keep doing, what we're doing, which for me is a lot of working it, up the side. Of course, a lot of folks are playing a lot more defense over there. But again, you got to start someplace, and whether you are outside, middle, back to outside, or you're outside all the way, or you're middle, outside, back to middle, there's, you want to use all the field. That's just, part of it. Welcome to football. But the idea of not necessarily feeling like you have to do everything faster or sprint faster, doing things faster means holding down sprint or doing things like that, or trying to do some stuff. Now, I have been trying to integrate like step overs, which leads to anytime you're trying to add something new, there's going to be a pain point of, that learning curve, and you're going to give away more balls, and you're trying to figure out, is this the time to use it? I'm notorious for trying to beat the player with my fullbacks. And then if you, of course, lose that ball, then it's just like a free run. And so finding that balance between using the agility that I have in my current left back, right back to their full potential, as well as, not giving up easy goals is, that's a hard lesson to learn, and one that is not ever fully learned. You're still going to, win some and lose some that you think you maybe should. So anyway, That's been, something I'm really mindful of going into Division 6, which I may start those games later today or tomorrow. So as we're looking into moving through the ranks and getting up into 6 and how that kind of is playing out, I wanted to talk a little bit about my team. There have been some changes to the lineup. Of course, still have Zola in there, but did some of those hero packs. Ended up getting a Joe Cole, which is right there at the bottom of the it's worth list. And then also ended up getting a first owner Brolin, which we've rolled out and tried and then pulled out. Now he's back in mainly because of the chemistry. Him and Sala are kind of been changing up on that right and left side. These inform packs, which we do so that we have the fodder to be able to do 83 by 10s, keep hitting for me. Barella is back in the squad. His Inform 87, which was performing pretty good prior, but now he becomes a little bit more instrumental because I ended up packing, I think actually out of one of the 3-player picks, those 78 3-player picks, I got the Thunderstruck Quadrado, who 93 pace, mediocre defense, but some ball control. I've gone back and forth because right now I have 2 small, agile fullbacks because on the other side is my Bon Pastor, which I did the upgrade, and man, she's been fantastic. I know the UFC or the UEL, UFL, whatever these new the hero that I instantly ended up putting my Lindemann into like an SBC. Anyway, some folks got her 89. She's an 88 for me and is just phenomenal. And then I also on the Inform front just yesterday, and so she's only had a small run out, but I ended up packing that 89 Inform Renard at center back, and so she works well with Bon Pastor in terms of they are able to get onto full chem, even though the web app doesn't know that. And then I've still got my rule breaker. Not rule breaker. It's the silly red Trailblazer. They same look. Trailblazer Diaz down there. I was using the Renard. Actually ended up placing my 99 game loan Van Dyke. That everybody's like, oh, you got to put him in the team. Was in every pro team this past Monday, which if you're interested at all in that, don't forget I cover that on my Saturday weekly wildcard. We'll be talking about Group B, which was a wild one, definitely a very different turnout than Group A. So interesting to compare and contrast some of the things that happened in those, but that's for Saturday. Did the Schmeichel SBC because he's used frequently, provides icon, Kim at the keeper spot, and wanted to make sure, it feels like you don't go away completely with nothing because these gamble packs for me have not, really done it. And so I'm like, you know what, I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to go ahead and at least, cement in what's going to be a solid keeper for, a month or two, if not more than that. So that Allison still, is the other one that gets chosen by all the pros. And so I've still got him. But this one, in this particular setup, he provides the chemistry, which leads me to the most relevant, biggest changes, kind of most recent updates. So I've had a pack pooled gold Messi. I think a lot of us have. I don't think it's nearly as, rare as it used to be, just like, the Lewandowskis of the world and stuff like that. But hard to get him on Kim or whatnot. And so this happened purely by accident, right? So the current daily play thing is you play a game and then you get a loan pack, and then you open the loan pack and you get your toxic player, radioactive, whatever, and you shove that in for the 2 games that they have, and then that gives you the 2 games that you need. And I did that day one just like that, then quick sold that, crappy loan, whatever. Next day, pop it out, going to do the same thing, except partway through the second game, I have to quit out due to real life concerns. And so I, we're actually, and to insult to injury, I just decided, I'm like, well, let's play a champs qualifier. And then I got called away. And so I, scored a goal and on myself and then quit out because I'm not a terrible person, even though I think I'm a terrible player because I haven't won a champs qual game yet. And so that's, problematic, but I'll digress. So that meant I needed another radioactive game played, and I haven't packed any of these players yet. So I start looking, and I'm like, well, I don't really want to replace any of my wingers, stuff like that. So let's see, is there somebody cheap in the midfield and maybe MLS, and then I can, maybe get this Messi in or whatever. And so I went with for 15K, I bought the Puig, Riquel Puig, which I'm probably saying wrong, but at least maybe humorous. He is the Spanish midfielder, 81 pace, 82 passing, 87 dribbling, and his dribbling is really amazing. Medium work rate, so that would usually tell me like ick, but I just needed it to play some games and fill some spots, so whatever. Threw him in, and it's been pretty sweet. I've enjoyed him, and so clearly you just have to play the games. So I'm like, why not take him into rivals and stuff? And him and the Messi combo have been good. Now, I will say this: I had a bout where Messi was doing well, and I decided, like, that low work rate, I'm going to, like, come back on defense and get him behind. I'm going to make him do some work, and that'll make him more active. Almost disappeared, was not in spots, so that I just put him back on balance and said, Messi, do Messi things, and that has been all the difference. He's been vulturing, he's been in good spots, he's, all of those types of things. And so I have to say, being able to get like, Messi in and then thinking that, well, I'll just, sub out Puig whenever I need to, early on or whatever. He has Energizer Bunny trait, so I don't have to. And frequently, man, he's making, some plays and, defensively solid on the ball. Passing has, been good. So, as an 85, I know when you look at this team, if you pull up with all of your icons and stuff and you see this team, you are not scared of, any of this that is happening, right? I enjoy Joy Cole because I played with him well last year, and I, have a feel for him. He's got a good speed balance, my ability to kind of deal with that. Zola's hit or miss in terms of he's small, so he gets decked, and we don't call fouls in this game a lot of times, whatever. But has that finesse shot that he's able to put in, and will put himself in some spots and can pass and can do the business. Brolin is there for chemistry, but Salah was over there. Now, there were a couple, breakaway, get there, put it away, but there were a number of times in which Salah wasn't hitting. And so both of these dudes have like 3-star weak foot, so it is what it is. I don't think there's a substantial difference. But Brolin shows up a little bit more on the defensive portion of the program, which is nice at times, so we'll see. This is a relatively new switch because I was also ended up getting Inform Alexander Arnold from one of the Team of the Week picks. And so I'd been playing him down there at right back. Of course, you give up the speed and necessarily the agility of a Cuadrado and what was going on with Bon Pastor. But I felt like he was a little bit more solid in some areas. But then playing when I have him and I'm trying to push up that right side, I felt like I was a little limited. Better passing in terms of being able to over the top with the Playstyle Plus. But I wasn't finding that was hitting on it at that many things. I'm also, that diagonal clear, that kind of pass from your right back to your left wing kind of area. I'm sure Arnold will do that much better based on the play style and so forth. But, that's kind of a weird niche to pick, even though, man, after having Slobosai in for a while and that dead ball, I do miss having a player with dead ball play plus, right? I mean, Zola's got the regular dead ball, things like that, but it is not the same as the plus, having one player in there. And I do think those are the kind of tack-ons that we're going to see come Team of the Year because let's face it, if we're December 5th, right? Haven't even gotten to Christmas, which will be another surge. Clearly, we got a bunch of folks that got it for half off, during that. So we got some new people playing. But they're going to start adding that second playstyle plus to some of these cards, because that's the only way you're going to differentiate like 88s from 93s and all that other kind of stuff. Whenever, last year we didn't get 100, there wasn't a 101. It's not like the mobile game. Like people are like, this is the year. Didn't happen. Don't anticipate it happening. And I think the way they're going to adjust that, like I had kind of alluded to, is going to be more play style pluses. And I think that dead ball one getting tacked on, giving somebody power and finesse, like that's like OP right off the bat. But I do think we'll see like, the Energizer Bunny one added to some folks. Maybe we'll end up seeing like dead ball added in, things along those lines that are like very situational, but maybe wouldn't be considered as OP from a gameplay standpoint to, that mess, right? Because when you look at like, are the pros finding like dead ball players, stuff like that? Not so much. But am I getting like burnt in Div 6, Div 7? Clearly, I imagine up into Div 5 with a playstyle plus kicking in a corner to a header aerial plus that they do. And, if you work out that system, you can really, have some create some goals. If it's getting you one goal a game, would you put them in there? Like, it's nice to be like, oh, but it's just one. But if like, oh, this averages me an additional goal per game, to have that play style on one person, because you're going to have a corner, you're going to have a free kick, you're going to have that chance that if you're able to do that, there may be some games you put in two, some games you don't put in any, but if you're averaging one, would you put that in there? And so that's, one of those other areas that I thought was kind of interesting. So, all in all, the team has been playing well. It's got me to where it is, but like I said, I've already played 85 games, 87 games of Rivals. That's just how, but I'm not playing Cup because, you play it once, you get the pack. I know it's like if I could get 4 wins out of like 4 days, then I could get the XP. But on the last one, I think I got 3 wins. And it's just, and if you don't win, it's an absolute waste of time. That's where when people say, oh, playing Rivals is a waste, they're not, but they love the Cup or they play the Cup. I think that's a little inauthentic, because both of them at the end of the result is like, oh, you either get some coins or whatever if you lose. If you win the Cup, then you add to that tally. If you win Rivals, you maybe move up and get out of Rivals in Div 5 into Div 4, from Div 7 into Div 6. And those areas, were already the sandbagging, is real. Justify whether you just don't like playing against people in Rivals, or, don't play that much. I'm only going to do my, minimum 7, things like that. And for those of us that play, we can't be upset that other folks don't play the game as much as we do. And so then they find themselves in a different band. I do think the shorter seasons are one of EA's ways to address this. And so that's something that I had planned on talking about a little bit more, as we move on. But speaking of moving on, I think now is a good time to transition into what I thought was this week in EFC, if you will. So David Jackson, who is the vice president of branding for EA Sports FC, was on the Sports Pro podcast and said a few things, some stuff we probably already knew, or we're like, well, duh. But, when it comes out of the mouth, sometimes I think it's, worth listening to. So a few things that I thought were interesting. One was just the idea that EAFC that FC was a replacement for FIFA, and that they both have 2 syllables and could sound similar. So I thought that was kind of funny. Anyway, we've all contemplated, like, what does it mean to not be with FIFA? And one thing that Jackson said in this interview was that FIFA, like many IP owners, sell you a category, and our category was simulation football video games. And so that meant they couldn't build a media platform, social network. I don't know what that's all about. Pitch for or bid broadcast highlights. Okay, I guess FIFA's like, you can't work with other organizations and things like that. So I get it. With now a lot more into the Premier League and La Liga, stuff like that. Build an arcade football simulation. So we'll see what that is. It's not Volta, because Volta's been around, and it's, they haven't built a very good one of those either. Or create many of the things our players might expect us in the future, specifically when they talk about genre of games like this, essentially what the auto battler that they're going to create, that they're trying to trick us into buying cards for that. Like they can kiss it. I did think a couple of things. They also said that FIFA, the rumor was that they wanted $300 million a year instead of the $150 million a year, and so that might have come into play as well. I did think it was I guess I would put this in the category of,
that's fucking interesting, man.
In the first 24 days of EAFC, there were 1.6 billion matches, 4.1 billion goals, and more than 200 nations, actually, countries were playing that, which really speaks to the global brand. And it's been pretty clear that the live services portion of EA, i.e. those of us that pay them after we buy the game, is the bulk of their money, and that a good third of their revenue happens in this first quarter that the game is out, which includes Black Friday and stuff, which they really knocked out of the park this year. I don't know if we'll get those specific numbers at some time, and I think in true EA fashion, they decided to follow their biggest, most beloved, kind of the little tidbit before we get to winter wild cards, and then team of the year with the toxic / radioactive promotion. Now, like I said, I'm taking advantage of it, so I'm not going to be too mad, at least so far, about that. Besides that, the other area that what Jackson said I thought was handy, interesting, and something that just one of those like, I did not know that, and now I do, and now you do. So take that. The last bit that I wanted to kind of touch on as we're coming towards the end of our discussion were just some what I was calling points of interest, or POIs. And the first one was going to be about packs. I know a lot of discussion on pods and on YouTube and stuff like that. It's been the pack curation, and EA coming out saying we're going to put the packs that are more in your alley up first and all that, which, what it's all like. You scroll through them all looking for 30 and 10, and you do that, or you read all the stats and get tricked into buying one or two, and, whatever the case may be, that's, your decision. And yes, EA knows that they can trick some people, and that it's tempting, just like we know casinos keep it cold, and that it's downhill in and uphill out, and no clocks, and all of these things. Like walking into these kinds of stuff. Now, the idea that children are exposed to this makes it different. I mean, they can't read the credit card, so there's something along those lines. And just like a toddler ordering $200,000 worth of stuff with your Alexa, then the same kind of premises apply. If I ran up $150 on the credit card on points, well, like if there was a way to do that whenever I was a kid, I'd know exactly what would happen at the end of that, and it wouldn't be playing that game. So we all have different ways of kind of dealing with it. And I do think there are places that you can still get value out of this if you take the cards and put them in other things and stuff like that. It's just, at the end of it for me is to know that, I just spent this much money on stuff that goes away and I just do it all over again. But if I was playing golf, whenever I go pay for a green fee, I don't get to play that green fee again. Like that day went away. That was the experience. I paid for that. And so, wherever you have a number for like, this is my hobby and this is what I'm doing, I'm going to spend this much on controllers, this much on peripherals, this much on like point, like whatever you decide. Like I said, I'm not spending. It's just, I'm giving it to a bloke in the UK to tell me how to play, better, versus giving it to, EA and maybe, having, some better cards. I know that when Martin and I get together, my team is not an asset. It's not necessarily a liability, but it's certainly not helping me win some games. Whereas, there's definitely some cards out there that could, help that and improve that. It makes it a little bit easier, especially for those of us down here in like 6-7. But at the same time, when you're coming up against those MBOPs and stuff and you're drawing those, or you end up winning those games, you feel pretty good about it. When you lose, you're like, whatever. I have taken to the idea of when I get frustrated with a player or whatever, if I can, I will just text them afterwards, good game. And I guess this does open up one of those, am I the a-hole kind of bits, because I had an interaction this weekend, and I'll be honest, like as a debate coach / critical thinker or whatever, I have a tendency to, respond when folks do things and not usually just like screamy, stuff. So, for example, a couple of different things popped up this week. Is one, I out of nowhere, I had somebody essentially just text me pathetic. I assume they meant pathetic, but I like to think that maybe they just have an accent or whatever. And then I let them know after I won my next game if I needed to tell them who that person was so they could reach out and tell them how bad they were too, because they lost. It was a 2-1 game. It wasn't even like I stuck around in a big loss or whatever. But anyway, there was this game in which after we got done, it was another close one. And I just after the game was done, I said, good game, well played, good luck. And his response to me, I assume it was a he, Haywire, responded back to me, yeah, congrats on having a lag switch, some emojis. And then I responded, sorry, bud, but not sure why you have to be like that. Maybe reach out to your internet provider. Hope it sorts itself out. At which point he replied, yeah, it's not me, little guy. I live in Miami and have fiber. That was the first time I've ever seen 128 ms, but GG. With some emojis and stuff in there. But anyway, and then I responded that I'm in Dallas with upgraded fiber here, large fella, because, I mean, if I'm a little guy, I don't understand why I couldn't, respond in kind. A simple good game and good luck gets this kind of response in this community. Bless your heart. And then he responded, you're the toxic weirdo F you talking about. And then I said, hopefully you can take more ownership when it comes to your life, and that GG, good luck, is not toxic, and that I was sorry that I upset him, at which point he told me that he was not upset. I'm just weird. Stalking me is weird. Bless your broken heart. So I guess he was going to, take part of what I said and really, got me with it. At which point I responded, hey, you might want to invest in a dictionary if you think a few messages is stalking and that GG is toxic. And then he said that I might want to invest in a new brain. A little kid should be brain dead, taking care, a little guy. And then I said lobotomies are no longer used in modern medicine. Again, another use for the dictionary. Sweet ad hominem, going after my age, though. Good day. And then he said, cope harder, at which point I said, good day, with an exclamation mark, because, that's what I said. He then called me a loser, and then I said, not that game, because, well, that happened. And he's like, in life, bozo, FIFA means nothing. And I'm like, it's EAFC now. They dropped FIFA, and then he sent some emojis. But and that took place over, a little bit. I've got the app on my phone and, did a little bit of free time. So it is what it is. But, was I the jerk for continuing to engage in, what apparently was a passive aggressive banner? Maybe, but at the same time, when I reach out and, like, good game, good job, way to go. I'm not doing it to, down. I will send that to people when I lose too. And of course, sometimes they also send back terrible things. So it is what it is. But if you're out there playing, just, I get it. We get frustrated, be mad at the game, be mad at EA, be mad at the Canadians. It is what it is. These 10,000 animations mean there are now 9,999 more ways for it to screw up and turn the wrong way and do whatever. Okay. Other point I wanted to kind of talk about as we talked about pack curation and things like that was, does anybody remember when before this came out, there was this thought that like, oh, they're going to do this thing. EA is going to do a thing where if you open packs, you're going to eventually get a good pull. It's going to keep track of it. It's going to, move it, weight it up, kind of like they do with some of these others where it says, oh, eventually you're going to get an elite item, and then bam, there you go. Of course, most of those games have a meter that let you know you're working towards it, and then that. The one I think of offhand is Overwatch, but I think others do that as well. So, is that happening? Clearly, there's not a meter, so it's just us guessing. But, because as someone who has done, 6 icon gamble packs and come out with like Zola and, 5 pieces of garbage, it's just, I don't know. I got a 92 that no one would use. So I've got a high piece of fodder and then some 88s with 3-star, and a chip shot player style plus trait. So, whatever. And is that only for the store packs, which I also think is, where some of that weight is. So, this is where I'm also torn on saving packs for Team of the Year. 1, is Team of the Year substantially better than the others? 2, is opening all those packs and dealing with all that, it becomes as much of a chore. And so I've even, at this point, should be probably like saving packs, but I keep opening them because I need my team to get better. And if I'm going to need fodder, I'm going to need it then, whether I need it now. And the chance that I'm going to pack a Team of the Year that may or may not be better than some of these things, we'll see. Like how many Team of the Years are they all going to be over 90? And is that going to be like, we just keep moving up, or then we back up from there? We'll see how that goes. But I do want to talk just a little bit more, and I know I mentioned this, briefly, but the last little bit that I thought was, something that EA is doing is the shorter seasons and why they're doing it, and that it's their half-assed answer to sandbagging, that if you make the season shorter, you can't grind your way up as high. So then that keeps everybody kind of, maybe more condensed, but still, if you're like, not moving forward, it makes it faster for you to go back down. So if you're playing the game and doing it as intended, these shorter seasons could prevent some of the kind of rub with, the idea that it's the matchmaking is based on, where you land skill wise and rivals and such. But on the other, it doesn't functionally change the way that works. So instead of there being like a cup or like weekend league or things like that, where it's all random the first few you play, and then you start playing people that are going to have similar records to you, and then keep doing it out like ELO is intended, where you're supposed to win every other game or things along those lines, which is what rivals should theoretically be. But without looking into that and kind of seeing it, and there's just, so much luck of the draw, who's close to you, who's playing at that time, things like that. I will say, when I was trying to do my qualifiers on Sunday, just to get ready for next weekend, because this weekend I was busy and all I did was, I was watching a lot of streams and listening to podcasts and, watching videos, stuff like that, given not being able to do that, I'm like, well, I'll go ahead and get a jump on next week. And because it's Sunday, no one's going to be trying to qualify. And what I found was that when I played those games, lag and like little rubber banding and things like that was, there. So after a couple of those, I'm like, not any more of this. And then went to Rivals, and gameplay was, relatively fine. It certainly wasn't, acting that way. So makes you think that they, have all the, champion stuff on their own server set, and like where they maybe not as dedicated to more to people finishing up that versus being able to do their qualifiers. I don't know, like why was playing one game mode more laggy and crazy than playing a different game mode. So it seems like those are the level of consistency that we deal with, which if you check in on my Saturday broadcast, we'll talk a little bit about, EAFC as an esport. What are some of the limitations probably in terms of that when you have so much AI and so much of those things, kind of going. But when you watch their gameplay and they're playing lands, that's why they're playing, live there. You can, you see what it looks like whenever the game runs smoothly. And you still see a lot of the things that we're doing, some bad passing, things like that. But again, check that out on Saturday if you want to get a little bit more insight into that. The last thing that I would like to mention to you today, and to be honest, like I said, it's one of the reasons I'm going to do the poll for the controllers. I have just a mess with controllers. I get right by buttons that'll break, and I've had to replace those a few times. I get sticky triggers, and I've had to fix that a little bit. And I don't send my stuff in. I buy it off of Amazon. I don't go out to Best Buy and get essentially the exchange thing. So I'm one that opens up my controllers, fixes them, and validates the warranty, all that kind of junk. And so I with that in mind, was actually found an affiliate that does some of the controller offers options for controller modifications and things like that. It's called Extreme Rate, EXTREME Rate. And if you use the discount code FOOTME when you check out, you can get a bit of a discount. I've got some of that stuff on the way. I'm about to redo one of my older controllers, giving it an update in terms of some pieces as well as the looks. More cosmetic at Extreme Rate than you're not going to find replacement joysticks, things like that. But the most likely thing that breaks on mine, at least, are RBLBs, and they have replacements for that and shells and button changes, stuff along those lines. So anyway, if you're at all interested or looking, you're in the market, or have you've got that that zombie controller that doesn't work, that's just been in the bottom of the drawer, then why not go ahead and update a little bit, spend $20-$30, and you can make it look brand new and act brand new, and it might be your favorite controller after that. So anyway, with that, I believe I am going to bid you adieu again as we get over the hangover that is Black Friday and we work through the promo that is toxicity. It is not unusual for you to load into a game, look at somebody else's team, and be like, man, foot me.